Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tea, Tentacles, and Talk, cozy conversations about LGBTQ plus romance. I'm your host, Chloe Archer, and today I have two fabulous guests with me. I have Macy Blake and Charlie Cochet. Macy Blake believes in unicorns and fairies, in moonbeams and stardust, and that happily ever after comes in all colors of the rainbow. She loves to lose herself in paranormal romance, living vicariously through her favorite sexy fictional heroes. These days, you can often find her lost in her imagination, trying to capture the magic of her own worlds. When she's not writing, she's busy arguing with her feisty German shepherd, Minerva, and attempting to train her adorable pound puppies, Pomona and Severus. Welcome, Macy! Charlie Cochet is the international best-selling author of the third series, Born in Cuba and Raised in the U.S. Charlie enjoys the best of both worlds, from her daily Cuban latte to her passion for classic rock. Currently residing in Central Florida, Charlie is at the beck and call of a highly opinionated sable German shepherd and a rascally doxy poo bent on world domination. When she isn't writing, she can usually be found devouring a book, releasing her creativity through art, or binge watching a new TV series. She runs on coffee, thrives on music, and loves to hear from her readers. Welcome! Thank you so much for both being here today.
She's so fancy, isn't she? Like,
well, most of my viewers know this is Tea and Talk, so I always try to bring along a little beverage, and it's quite hot here today, even in Minnesota. So I have this like electrolyte sort of thing. I don't know. It's, supposed to hydrate you. And it's like a cherry pomegranate flavor. So it's quite nice. Yeah. Nice. Did you guys bring something to drink today?
We did. I also just wanted to let you know that it's 105 here. So
oh my gosh.
Yeah, we both have warm beverages. So I just thought I'd point that out,
Well, we also have nice, cool air conditioning.
We do. We also have two fans blowing on us at the moment.
That helps, right?
Yes, it does, yes.
Yes, I've lived in some hot places before. I moved to Minnesota for my day job about 13 years ago. But before that, I had lived in Atlanta, Georgia for 3 years, and then Gainesville, Florida for 6 years.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We're just south of Gainesville, so yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We're in Tampa, yeah.
Like humidity.
Yeah. There are many things I really liked about Gainesville, but climate-wise in the summer, I likened it to the sweaty armpit of Florida. Like, it's too far from either coast, so you're just kind of like smack there in the middle. There's no airflow, and it just gets super humid. Yeah.
Except the winters are glorious.
Yeah. They are. I miss them a lot. I do not like the snow.
Yeah,
so someday, hopefully,
you have to. Take the bad with the good. I would rather have hot summers than snow and ice.
There you go.
Nice if our winters were a bit longer.
I know. We're not that lucky, though.
That right. 1 degree day.
I know. We have one day when it's like chilly.
Meanwhile, I think, the days you would think are chilly, a lot of the native Minnesotans would be out in like their flip-flops and their shorts and stuff. Yeah, I see some of them in the winter where they've got like a parka on and then shorts and bare legs. I mean, mostly men, but like, I'll never quite understand how that works.
Yeah, we're going to be in your neck of the woods in October.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'll find out in October. We'll have to let you know when we're done. But yeah, we're going to be up there, so we'll get to experience. We'll see how it is. We're gonna.
Yeah, October shouldn't be too bad unless you're like really far north in the state. Then it might be colder, but like October's usually still pretty nice. It doesn't actually start getting kind of like wintry, at least in my part of the state, until kind of like late November, early December. Is usually more.
So we're curious because we're gonna. It's like, what do you pack? Because we're gonna go from 97% humidity to no humidity.
Ooh.
So it's going to be
It's always tough to
yeah.
pack because it's like when you're like sweating and hot and humid, you can't imagine somewhere where you'd need a sweater. So it's really hard to pack sweaters because you're just like, but it's so hot. Like,
and like, even if it says it's going to be in the 80s in Florida is so different from the 80s up there. So it's just nuts.
Right.
So anyway, enough about the weather. Good Lord.
Right. We're here to talk about all kinds of fun writerly things.
Yes.
Specifically, I wanted to interview both of you to talk a little bit about your Shifter Scoundrel series and to talk a little bit about co-writing together. So could you tell us a little bit about the series, especially for those who may not be familiar with it yet, and kind of how you two started working together on it as collaborators?
You're looking at me. So the Shifter Scoundrel series is, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of adventure. It's sort of like, it's paranormal. So you've got your shifters, but it's kind of like a mix between like Bridgerton and like.
It's a modern day Bridgerton.
It's like a modern day Bridgerton with shifters.
Yeah.
So
they follow rules of society. They're very strict rules in society, even in the modern day.
Okay.
Shifters. So it's
but we have royalty and we have titles, we have dukes and earls, and so there's an overall mystery plot going on, and each book is a different couple trying to figure out what's going on. So it's a lot of fun. And we kind of had always joked about writing a series together that, because our styles mesh so well. And then one day we were just like, why don't we just do it? Why don't we, write a series together, write a book together? And we started just brainstorming.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about like what your process is when you co-write? Because I know it can be really different from collaborator to collaborator. Like everyone has their own sort of dynamic. Some people are like, well, you get this character and I get that character, and we do POVs. Some of them are like, no, we're going to co-write each chapter. I'll write a bit, then you continue. How do you guys sort of manage that?
Not like that.
Oh, okay.
Anything about what we thought, I think when we first started, we talked to a lot of our friends who co-write, and we got a lot of like their ways, and then we just kind of sat down and started playing with it ourselves. And what works best for us is if we're both working on it at the same time. So she might start to draft a chapter and then I'll finish it. So we don't do character point of views. We don't even dedicate chapter by chapter. It is a true mix of both of us. And we're working on chapters at a time, and we're just like communicating with each other and saying, this spot right here, I didn't think I did very well on it. Can you go in and tweak it? So it really is a true collaboration. There's not, at one point we went in and we had written like some early scene ideas, and we went back and were reading it as we were getting ready to write Notorious. And we couldn't figure out who had written which part. So it was that's
how we knew it was gonna.
We were like, oh, if we can't even tell, we're good.
It's just like, did I write this or did you write this? I don't know.
And we've even had good friends who have said, oh, Charlie wrote this part, and I'm like, no, she didn't. It's like we really did. Like I really try to, lean a little bit more into her style, and she leans a little bit into mine, and it's been a lot of fun.
I think
that is so cool.
Really how we, when we each write a chapter, we go back and sort of like, edit and fill in. And so we're both, like Macy said, we're both writing the same chapters. We're both writing all the chapters together. So our voices mix and it all just flows.
And sometimes like, she'll get stuck and she'll just say, oh, I don't want to write this. Go. So it's because we have that freedom, and because we know each other so well, it makes it work. I think so.
Yeah, because I don't like if I was co-writing with someone I didn't know very well. I don't think I could co-write with someone who I didn't know well.
Yeah.
Like I agreed to co-write with her because she's my best friend. And so I knew that like if something happened, then it's, our friendship was the most important thing. And the book wouldn't happen. But, I wouldn't, someone who I don't know very well, I couldn't be like, well, I just don't feel like writing this scene. I don't think, you wrote it.
Yeah, like, but what you do, like, no, I don't want to use it,
Like, by the way, I stopped mid-sentence. Go.
Yeah, it's true. So I think it's because we know each other so well that we're able to do it that way. And, it's, we're beyond best friends at this point. We're sisters. My mom calls her daughter. Her mom calls me daughter. Like we're family. And I think that brings something to the collaboration. That
it takes a lot of the pressure away.
It does. So we had agreed, or like our first thing that we said is it's like our friendship comes first. So if this is stressful, not fun, we're not like, you don't want to do it, like we're done. Like that was like the first rule we established, and no hard feelings, no nothing. Just if you don't want to do it anymore, we don't do it anymore because we're doing it for fun.
Right.
And that took a lot of the pressure off as well, I think.
Yeah.
So
that's great. I haven't actually met that many people who write that closely together in the process, but I imagine it does really kind of help to create that more kind of holistic overall tone, consistency in the tone of the text. Because I would imagine that could be the hardest part of like divvying up a book between two authors, unless you had very, very similar writing styles. But I guess actually, I
mean, like we write like we both write humor and action and adventure, but we have very different voices.
Very different voices. So there's definitely there's craft involved in leaning into, trying to pull myself a little closer to the way she would write it.
Right.
The same for her,
Yeah.
We do have favorite characters that we kind of lean into writing a little bit more.
Ooh, okay.
We did arm wrestle over writing Mouse and Dangerous, though. Every time we had a big mouse scene, Mouse is the dog character. So we had a German Shepherd service animal, and we based her. We technically based her on my Minerva.
We did,
but there's a lot of her Brody in there. And so we would arm wrestle over those scenes. No, I want to write Mouse. No, I want to write. So that's been one of our two. We've only had one other. Can I tell her? Our big fight. We had a big fight. Okay. So
part of the process.
Right? So our character went to a farm where he owned. And certain people thought that it was out of character for him to wear jeans at the farm. And I was like, but we're at a farm. And she, like, it was like line in the sand. I will stop writing this book with you if he has to wear jeans. She was that serious about it. And I was like, I don't understand this. And she was like, I don't care. He's not wearing jeans. And I was like, okay. Like,
I'm like, let's compromise. He's wearing pants.
Like, I mean, she was like, it was ferocious. I was like, are we really fighting over jeans? And we were like, she was like, yeah, and I'm sticking to my guns on this one. Like, okay, I mean, if it's that, I don't understand. So that's been our worst.
Yeah,
that's been the worst disagreement.
The
so
pants
far.
debacle of 2020.
The denim hill you will die on.
Right? She was like, he wouldn't wear jeans. And I was like, he's not a farm.
I'm like, it's historical. She's like, but it's a farm. But it's historical.
It's a modern day farm. And it was so funny. Like, we probably argued about it for like 20 minutes before I finally was like, okay, listen, I'm not, what are we doing? What, like, we were like raising our voices. And I was like, we're fighting over jeans. We've never even had a fight before. It was hysterical. Then we probably laughed for 20 minutes, and now I pick on her about it often as possible.
That's really adorable. I mean, it sounds like for the most part, a lot of this process was pretty smooth sailing. I'm sure having that foundation of being BFFs like is super helpful to that. But I guess one of my big questions, especially, you know, when working on, I'm assuming you knew it was going to be a series when you started, and thinking about like, where do you guys fall on the plotter, pantser, I like discovery writer, you know, kind of spectrum, like, and did that kind of make it difficult for you? Like, how much did you plan ahead for a series before you got started?
I think we're both kind of like plantsers. Like we plot, but we also leave room to like
to discover.
Yeah, to discover. So it's not like strict plotting where this like we have a list of things that need to happen.
Right.
We talk about it a lot before we start writing, because if not, then I bombard her with 5 million questions on Messenger.
It's true.
So
and the comments that she leaves, random emails when she's writing. I don't know this. I don't know that. I don't know this. What's this? Who's this? I get to name this. And I'm like, oh my Lord. She's making work today. It's funny.
Because if I don't know it, like it stops me from writing.
And I make fast decisions about stuff like that. Yeah. So instead of her like researching and doing whatever, I'm like, it's gonna be this, here's a link, go.
Because it's like an obvious thing where it's just like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this and put this in there, and then I tell her about it later. I'm just like, we didn't talk about this, what's going on with this? And then she makes a decision and then I keep going. but
I don't do the fashion piece, because fashion is a very big part of this world, and
there's a historical element. That sounds intimidating to me.
We have a Pinterest board, and I make her tell me which outfit is going to be worn in each scene so that I know because she's very much about writing the details. And I'm like, he's wearing a black suit, and she's like, no, he's not. He's wearing a frock coat with this and that and the other. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, we each have our strengths, you know, like settings and descriptions and stuff like that are really where, like, you know, where I am. And then like character, you know, making sure the characters stay on track is really like, she's really, that's a gift of hers. So.
Well, that kind of anticipates sort of my next question, which was going to be sort of like, what writerly superpowers do you each kind of bring to the table when you're co-writing? Is there stuff other than kind of what you've mentioned already?
I think that both of our superpowers are the same, which is again part of the reason why it makes it work. We both write a lot of characters. We like big casts, and so you know, we're both really accepting of that. And we both are really good at writing distinct voices. So you know, we'll know in the first book, I know what Cass would sound like. She knows what Safer would sound like. So we're both really good at that. And I think that helps. You know, we've developed the character. We know what they sound like. And I think that because we can both do that, I think that's really our superpower with this. And then the things that, like I said, like I'm not like a big fashion, like I can't visualize like that sort of thing. That's not really, but give me a setting and I can like, you know, plot my way around it. So I think that's
you're really good at pacing. Like she's really good at like, if I start getting a bit long-winded, she's like, okay, nobody's talked here for like 6 paragraphs. We need to like, so she's really good at pointing them out. And I'm just like, oh yeah, we kind of lost him for a second. Characters a lot.
She does,
like all the time. And she's just like, what happened to this guy? And I'm like, oh,
when we started the chapter, he was there, and then he disappeared.
And I'm just like, oh, we left him behind somewhere. Okay, I guess I can write him back in. Because I don't even realize.
And I'm really bad about rushing things. So I'll just fly through and not like, you know, take the time to really like let the scene breathe and like, you know, do what it needs to do. And then she'll come back to me and say, hello, is there an emotional arc in this scene? So it's really funny, but we do that with each other's writing when we're writing solos as well. If I'm struggling with something, I'll send it to her and say, okay, something's not vibing here. She does the same for me. So we're just so used to collaborating that it really, it works naturally, I think.
That's fantastic. I think that probably gives a lot of folks who are, who are watching and who are maybe considering collaborating, gives them some hope about like how this can work out, especially if you can find the right person who's the right fit to work with.
And do it your way. Like our way is not the way. Like it's
right.
You do what you're comfortable with, and you set those boundaries at the beginning. Am I allowed to edit your words, before, or do you want to see track changes? Like stuff like that is really important to set those boundaries. So she knows, like, I'm going to go in and edit her stuff, and I'm not going to tell her what I've edited. But when I'm done, I tell her to go back and reread it. And then sometimes she'll change things back, but there's no, like, our words aren't precious in that way. She really doesn't like something. She'll just say, I don't know why you did this. So, I mean, it's just finding your powers of communication with your co-writer and what your lines are, what you're comfortable with. Because some people don't like their words being touched. And some people really want to write one character and not the other. Or
that's true.
So I think you just have to communicate in advance and know,
I also think one of the biggest things that I think could be problematic for a lot of co-writers is staying on track. Like with us, if something comes up where something needs to get delayed, or we need to push something back, or it's going to take longer than we thought it was, like we're flexible in that way. We try to stay on track as much as we can, but if life happens, it's not a big issue for us. Where I think if you were collaborating with someone you don't know and suddenly they're like, I got to take a week off because that can be, that can cause.
Or
issues.
if one person writes a lot faster than the other, you got to take those things into consideration. I think for on a normal day, I write a lot faster than Charlie. But one of the things that we've realized is that, I can draft a scene and she can edit that scene behind me, and it works really well. So if we're running behind, we can do that, where I just draft 2 or 3 chapters and then she comes behind and cleans them up. But otherwise, like it becomes an unfair balance of like one person is writing, 75% of the book. And so there's lots of things to consider. So,
and she takes that into consideration, the fact that I can't write as many words a day as she can, and I can't write as fast as she can. So we've, she's been really great about, what's the word I'm looking for?
Scheduling.
Scheduling. She's been really great about scheduling and kind of working out the pace of writing that will fit both of us, because it would be really hard if she'd be like, I want to get this book done in this amount of time. And I know that would be really hard for me. And then that would put pressure on me. And then it would not be a fun experience because that's just not, the way I write.
Right.
Yeah, that was our point, is this has to be fun.
Yeah.
So all morning we've been sitting here working on Scandalous and like laughing and coming up with crazy ideas. We have something real crazy that we came up with this morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, it's taking that time and kind of figuring it out together, I think is, so yeah. But I will say though, collaborating is not easy. So for some people it is, we got really lucky, but it's still a challenge for us, and we're best friends and we have great communication with each other, but it is not easy. So I think anyone considering it needs to know that, like, it's not easy.
Because you have, everybody's got stuff going on in their life. And then we've also got our solo stuff, and businesses to run. So it's a lot. You got to juggle a lot that needs balancing.
Sage words of wisdom, I think, for sure. Can you tell us a little bit about What draws each of you to the paranormal side of romance, and what is it about shifter characters in particular that you love to write about?
You want me to go first? I think I've always been drawn to paranormal. That's what I've always liked to read. Not always, but like for the majority of my adult life. And so it just was really natural for me to flow into it. I know a lot of my fans know, but I started writing fan fiction. I wrote Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan fiction for years. And so that was where my heart was. I like being able to write things and like change the world, change the rules. You can't really do that in a contemporary. So for me, it gives me that freedom where I really enjoy breaking things and then putting it back together and then breaking it again and putting it back together. And you can do that in a paranormal world where you have rules and you have magic and you can have a lot more fun and a lot more freedom to go different paths.
Right.
So that's what what draws me to it is that freedom of I can kind of write anything I want. There's a very few boundaries that you have to sort of meet in paranormal. And so I like being able to kind of just go wherever my imagination takes me.
Yeah, I think that's, I love writing all kinds of things, but paranormal and romantic suspense are my favorite. And there's always romantic suspense in my paranormal. But it's the same thing. I love being able to just create, like not have any boundaries on what I can create, the world I can create. The only rules are the rules that I make for that world.
Yeah.
And so it's whatever you can imagine, you get to just piece this world together bit by bit and inhabit it with all these different kinds of characters and, researching mythology and fantasy, and that's like the funnest thing for me. So it's just so much fun. The
mythology nerds. So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so this series, of course, focuses primarily on sort of shifter characters. What was it that drew you to them? Obviously, the paranormal pantheon is large. Macy, you mentioned vampires earlier and stuff. What kind of drew you to shifters over other paranormal beings to kind of focus on?
Well, I write everything, so I'm not limited to shifters. The Shifter Scoundrels is shifter oriented, but the rest of my paranormal is I've got gods and I've got mages, all sorts of goodies. But I think that there's something in shifters. I really love fated mates, and I think that is a big draw for me and a big draw for my readers.
Sure.
It's that whole idea of there's somebody perfect out there for you. And, when you're living your normal human contemporary life, that just sometimes feels like it's not real, like it doesn't exist. But in the paranormal world, it can. And that there's just something really magical and beautiful about that, I think. No matter what shifter, you're writing, whether it be, wolves or dragons or, I think that there's that mate aspect that is really that. I think that's my, the thing that draws me. And packs. I love writing huge packs. So.
I think we went with that because we've both written shifters, and it's something that, we've had success at. So it made sense to us to write shifters. That's what our readers kind of first knew us for. And I just love writing shifters. I love that. For me, I love creating the character and the kind of dynamic between the animal and the human, and all the little details and how it balances out and what you're going to do with that. So that's
the rules. Yeah. It's just fun to be because I told her this time, I was like, you listen, miss. There's this whole you shift and there's trauma and there's care kits and there's recovery and there's
Clothes
gotta be
taken off.
and then there's like, you have to have your Gatorade and your protein bars. And I was like, you listen, rule 1, magic. And I was like, that was my jeans moment. I was like, they shift magic, okay? There's none of it. And we laughed, and she was like, yes, please, because in the thirds, that's such a big part of the plot that she wrote in, and now she had she's stuck there and she can't I
always have to think, it's like, okay, well, he needs time to take his clothes off, and then he needs time to shift, and then when he gets the shift back,
he's got to recover, and and so I was like, we're not doing any of that, and I don't care if the human weighs 100 pounds, he can be an 800-pound grizzly bear if he wants to be, okay? It's science and is not in this magic. So she was like thrilled with that. She was like, oh, we could just do whatever. Like, oh, yes, please. Yes. There's less rules. And so,
Well, you just tell people this is how we're, differentiating these worlds. That's all, right?
Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about your beautiful covers for the series, because obviously they're really compelling. And can you tell us a little bit about who does your covers and kind of what that process is like when two of you are trying to agree on what you want on a cover in collaboration with an artist? Because I know sometimes it can be tricky when it's just one writer and an artist trying to figure out what the cover needs to do.
Well, we each have our cover artists that we've been working with for a long time. And because Alex.
I work with Alexandria Corza.
And I work with Restante. So we were just like, okay, that's a really tough decision to make. So it's like, why don't we go with a cover artist that neither of us, has really worked with, who we really like the style of, that would match this series. So we wanted something that would really, shout kind of historical, fantasy, paranormal. And Natasha Snow makes such gorgeous covers. We were just like, let's talk to Natasha and see, if she thinks that she would be a good fit for this series. But we were pretty.
She was in, man. Yeah, she was all when we explained it to her.
Yeah, and that first the cover to Notorious, I love so hard, and she just nailed it on the first go.
Yeah, first try.
Like I opened it and I was like.
Yeah, and listen, I don't get very much say on the covers. This one, her degree is in graphic arts, so very opinionated where the art is concerned. And so it's pretty much like, does he have 3 years? Then that's my say. She really is the manager of the art, but we also have very similar styles, I think, in what we wanted for this.
Yeah.
And we had talked about that in advance as well. We had done some branding work on the series before we even started writing. What colors did we want to use? What
did we want on the cover?
What did we want it? How did we want to brand it? We went in with some ideas for Natasha that really helped, that we had sort of hashed out beforehand. So I think that it wasn't that hard, and Natasha is just. It makes it so easy because she has read our minds the way Reed reads her mind and Alex reads my mind.
Yeah.
And I was so worried about that, because Natasha doesn't know us. Reese and Charlie are friends in real life. Alex and I have been friends for 20 years. So I get a cover from Alex. I mean, she knows, right. So it's just kind of like, it was a real, just so exciting when Charlie sent me that Notorious cover, and she was like, what do you think? And I just I immediately called her and I was like, holy crap, are you kidding me? This is the first draft. I don't even know that we changed any, we may have tweaked
it was something like thing. Can she make the glow
something
bigger or move it more this way? It was the most ridiculous little tweak.
And Scoundrels was misspelled.
We
had sent it to her misspelled. So she spelled it the way we spell
Scoundrels.
So That was like it though. Like
Yeah.
that was the tweaks.
They were very,
it was
very little
insane.
tweaks.
Yeah. And normally,
Tweaks.
even for working with Reese and with Alex, like I'm like, okay, I want this tweaked, I want this tweaked, I want this tweaked. Like we're both real. We didn't do that with Natasha. It was pretty cool. So
no, she is super talented. She's done most of my covers as well. And I'd always just like, when I was thinking about a cover artist, I had kind of looked at like, what are some of the covers I've like immediately been drawn to as a reader? And like a huge percentage of them in MM were ones that she has done. And so, but I was nervous when
cover.
Pardon?
For a fantasy paranormal cover, she's just like,
right. Oh yeah. No. But like also for people who are thinking about or getting started on this process, I was, as a newer author, I was kind of surprised that, you know, a lot of the artists work primarily through online written communication, where I thought like, oh, we're going to have like a conversation about this and I'm going to spew a whole bunch of stuff, but it didn't really work like that. And I was a little nervous about like, am I going to be able to communicate or convey like what I'm thinking about, especially as somebody who's not graphically art oriented. I mostly gave her like a lot of like autonomy to kind of go, but I just was sort of like, you know, you kind of need to know I'm more rom-com-y, not dark, you know, that kind of thing. But like I shouldn't have worried because she's just so outstanding. So yeah, I was wondering if she had done them actually, because I was like, that looks kind of like Natasha's work, but I wasn't entirely sure. And I was like, I'm just going to ask them about. So
yeah. And then when we got, it was really funny because when we got book 2, we really struggled to find a model that we liked. And so we ended up finding one, and then it was like, boom, she made him into Jason. Like, and it was just like, oh, her talent is crazy. So yeah, she's great to work with, especially for, you know, paranormal. She just is. Yeah, she's wicked.
Yeah. Models. I let her pick the models because apparently I have no eye for being able to pick a model that's like cover worthy. Like
very different tastes in models.
We do.
Right. And so I was just like, okay, you pick the one that's gonna sell and it's gonna work here, you know, because my idea of like, oh, this looks kind of cute. It's just not a big market trend.
We face cast these characters and we told Natasha who they were face cast as.
Oh wow. Okay.
And we sent her photos of the actors that we had face cast, and that's so it was more of okay, that we know that this is who we see, and we had agreed on that, and then we let her make the model work.
Yeah,
you know, and especially for a collaboration, that's kind of a direction you need to go, and you need an artist who is as talented as Natasha with Photoshop and can kind of do all those extra things that, you know, to make it unique. So yeah, but the lion and the tiger that she put on there, just stunning.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see. Scandalous. We've got a bear on Scandalous, and I cannot wait to see how she does him.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to it as well. So okay, you'd mentioned earlier a little bit about research and stuff for this series. What are some of the weirdest things you've had to Google or research for this particular series?
Dorito.
Yeah, Doritos.
Doritos. Oh, to tell.
So, I mean, this, I don't really think of this as a spoiler, but our current, the character that we're writing right now, is the Bear Shifter, and he is based on Chris Evans.
He's our face cast.
Our face cast for our Duke, our Bear Duke. Yeah. And so we were trying to get an idea of the size difference between Chris Evans and our character, our face cast for Bo, who is Tom Holland, because we knew there would be a significant size difference.
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure it out.
We were Googling Chris Evans measurements. And it was a comment that somebody had left on like Pinterest or something. And it was just like, did you ever notice that Chris Evans
It's shaped like
is shaped like a Dorito?
And they had a Dorito on him.
On Captain America, his shoulders to his waist.
So true, he's shaped like a Dorito. So
we were laughing.
We did. Like, we laughed. I think, I don't know that it's weird, but like, because we have our characters shift into like mammals, lions, tigers, bears, we needed to know things like how big they are, how fast they run. We have a shifter who is a harpy eagle.
That was the first one for me because I'd written like bears and tigers and all that stuff, but I'd never written a bird shifter. And the harpy eagle, especially because I hadn't, like, I'd heard of a harpy eagle, but I didn't know what they looked like until like she told me. And then I looked at a photo and I was like, that is freaky.
You need to Google a harpy eagle if you do not know what one looks like. They have like human-esque faces.
And they're
wow.
And they're ginormous.
They're ginormous.
Wow.
They're very,
But then that made writing that character even more fun. Because it was like immediately sparked like a million ideas because we were just like,
right.
Yeah, because he can be this like creepy looking dude,
like
right?
Who just appears out of the shadows out of nowhere.
Yeah, because he's a bird. I mean, but we had to know how fast did they fly?
Yeah.
Could he? What kind of weight could he carry? Just things like that. That like if we had a scene where a lion and a bear were running together, how fast do they run? Can they run?
Yeah.
Is one faster than the other? Like things like that you don't think about. But if you have shifters like kind of fighting in a scene and they're running, okay, how fast do they run? Who's going to outpace the other? Are they this, who's stronger? Oh God.
I was looking up like fun facts about what kind of Cillian is a serval?
Serval, yeah.
Serval. And one of them was that servals slap fish. Like stun them, they slap them with their paw. So we put that in the book where someone's like, go slap a fish. It's just dying.
And nobody who's ever like, if you don't know anything about servals, you won't think that's funny, but if you do, right? It's all those little things like again, I'm not going to spoil this, but the thing that we came up with this morning was a something like that we did not know. And so we are now incorporating that into a couple of side characters in this book because we're like, that's awesome. And we didn't know that. So we're going to use it, so we do a lot of research on the animals that we're going to be shifting. And of course we write dragons. So we've got a lot of the royalty in our world is based on dragon magic. So those are all, we can do what we want. But the lions, the tigers and bears, oh my, we try to stick to actual, physiology.
And the royalty and the monarchy. And that drove me nuts.
Yeah, we had to do a lot of research on like, how do you address them? When do you go from sir to lord to, his majesties and my Lord, it was. And we made some executive decisions on a few of them because we were like, listen, the rules are, and it made it just easier, like at times, like even if it wasn't strictly the rules that official monarchy would follow, we were like, this is our monarchy and we're going to have,
right.
As a reader, it was just really clunky to read and confusing, if you're like, okay, well, you're Lord this time, but then you're yes, sir, but you're yes, my Lord, but you're, it was like, okay, we need to just not be so strict because we felt like it would cause reader confusion. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We really went off on some tangents that time.
Well, speaking of readers, what can readers expect that you're able to tell us, I guess, about the future of this series? How many books are you planning? I know there's going to be at least 3, but do you have plans for more than that?
Well, this is our working theory, right?
Okay.
If it's fun, we keep doing it. So we'll write Scandalous, and if we're still having fun and if our readers are still reading it and loving it, then we'll write another one. You know, we're not set in like, oh, this is going to be X number of books. We've talked about a couple spin-off ideas if the possibility came about. I think that at the most, the series would end up at 5. But honestly, like, it's because we're doing this as a passion project and for fun.
Yeah.
Right now we're committing to 3.
Sure.
And, you know, hopefully we'll be able to do 4, and, you know, then hopefully we'll be able to do 5. Like, but this is like our friend passion project that we do to get to spend time together and create together. So if we're busy and we're like, I want it to be fun for us and a break, kind of a break for us to get to create together, because we both, writing can be such a lonely business. And to get this break, to be able to spend time with my best friend, talking to her every day, and she makes me laugh so hard when she sends the stuff to me and when she fights with me about jeans, and like, you know, it's such a great break. And so that part of it we love. But if it comes to a point where we're like, man, I'm so behind, I've got to get XYZ books out, my readers are waiting on those, and our solo series, then we wait, you know. So we're not making any promises, I guess is what I'm gonna say. Like, you know, definitely 3, you know, because we're writing 3 now, maybe up to 5. But you know, as long as our readers are having fun and we're having fun, we'll keep going. That's where we're at.
That totally makes sense.
Sorry.
No, how dare you?
I mean, but that's kind of what we've talked about. So it's like, we just want it to be keeping fun for us. And if it becomes a point where we're like, I've got to write my next book, I can't fit this into my schedule, that's cool, you know.
There's no pressure.
There's no pressure. So
we can kind of create your own timeline, especially since if it's a passion project, kind of separate from your main schedule. But, well, I mean, I guess this does beg the question, right? Have you thought about other projects or series you might like to try co-writing together? Because I would guess, like, when you get together and you have all kinds of conversations, and obviously you've also written other paranormal stuff, do you suddenly kind of spark ideas off of each other about, like, well, what about, you know, I don't know, these vampire.
We have so many books to write. I don't think there's like the moment our brain might be like, hey, or like, no.
But, you know, when we finish this,
when we finish these 4 series that we're writing right now.
But even when we finish Scoundrels, like, it might be the same thing where we're like, ooh, what if we do something like this next? Like, you know, I could totally see us doing some sort of like cozy mystery light sort of, you know, silliness, some paranormal romp, you know, like I can see us doing a different type where it's more like paranormal romantic comedy versus paranormal suspense, you know. So, but I mean, no, we haven't even talked about it. Like, we plot our books together. So, like, I feel like our books are collaborations anyway.
Right.
So, but God, that's funny. I haven't even thought about writing another series. I know, right? Well, because we're right in the middle of
kernel
this.
there.
We're right in the middle of this, and so I think it's way too early days to be thinking, oh, well, we could do something else. Like,
right. No, I guess I only asked because, you know, I think I don't know if you all are familiar with, like, Becca Simon, the Clifton strengths and everything. And
very familiar.
I learned, I took my test, and like, I learned my number 1 strength is futuristic, and which explains a lot about why I I have ideas for like about 8 different series down the line. Right. So to me, it just is always natural to, like, even when I'm working on something, I'm also thinking about like 3 other things that will be in the pipeline at some point. So that's
why I have like 4 open series, because I'm also number 1 futuristic. So, you know, I'm always, you know.
I don't even think futuristic was on mine. Like, that's how bad my futuristic is. It was like, is there a number higher than 34 on futuristic? No, I am very low and futuristic, but I've also got like 12 books in the 12 more books that are in the works. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, that kind of leads me to my next question. Can you give us a sort of sneak peek into what to expect from you in the next few months in terms of sort of solo or co-written projects?
Well, I've got a release coming out at the end of this month, August 29th. It's Dealing Him In. It's the first book in the King's Royal Flush series. So it's a Four Kings Security Universe series spinoff of a spinoff.
Okay.
Of a spinoff.
So yeah, I've got that. It's with my editor, and it'll be out at the end of this month. And then
we're writing Scandalous now.
Yeah. Oh, now it's my secret project.
Huh?
My secret project.
Oh yeah, she does have a secret project. She can't tell you yet.
Okay.
Secret project.
Okay.
Yes. For me, I just released Ollie, which is book 4 in my Magical Mates. Well, it's with kid gloves, but it's Ollie's book. That's on my Patreon, I'm writing my Dragon Babies. So I'm releasing that over on my Patreon, which is The Chosen One, book 6. Okay. So that's been a lot of fun. And then I'm writing, after I write Scandalous, I'm writing Yule Lads, which is my spinoff to my Christmas Sprite series from last year.
Oh, very cute.
So I'm doing that, and then it's the Oracle. So like I'm booked for a hot minute.
She's booked.
Right.
I'm booked
just a little bit.
Well, yeah, a lot further down than I am, because after my secret project is the second Runaway Grooms book, and on my Patreon I'm writing the second Tin book. So
wow,
we are both like writing like the wind.
Right. Well, I know all writers, we need to take a little bit of time off and sometimes attend events and things like that. I see that both of you are attending GRL this year, which for any viewers unfamiliar, it's the Gay Rom Lit retreat that happens annually. It is a wonderful celebration and coming together of folks within the broader LGBTQ romance community, but we have perhaps a more specific focus on MM and MM plus, but by no means exclusively. And so could you tell us a little bit about what folks can expect with you guys at GRL this year? Are you going to be doing any panels or signings? Do you have a pre-order form up for folks who are interested?
We do. We haven't really figured out our schedule yet, but yes, we have pre-order forms that are up for both of us, and we can get you the links to those for anybody who would want them.
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes if you would like.
But what we normally do is just sort of keep our readers posted as to where we're going to be and when, sort of during the event, or that sort of idea. So we haven't gotten like our assignments yet for our panels or anything like that. So we're not, we don't know any of that yet.
But we will be doing a signing.
Yeah, the big signing will be at that, and
we'll probably be sitting together.
Yeah, they normally let co-authors sit together, so we're hoping to do that. So we should be easy to find.
Look for the
pink. So, but yeah.
That's wonderful.
Hanging out with our readers at GRL. I think that it's, one of those things. And I will say, we are both a little bit on the introverted side. Her more so than me, but we're both super approachable. So like for folks attending GRL, like don't feel like you can't come up and talk to somebody, because I always try to remind readers that we live in our head like 99% of the time. We have to like be around real people and not the ones that talk to us in our brains. It can be a little bit hard, but we want you to come and talk to us because we like are too scared to go talk to you. And just like you may be too scared to come talk to us, please don't be, because it's worse for us. I promise you, we live in our heads all day long. So never feel like you can't approach any author at GRL, you know.
And we if you're very extroverted, you can find our extroverted bestie number 3 running around GRL. Amy DiMartino. Everybody knows Amy. So, you know,
if you want to know where we are, find her, because she's loud in Italian. She's easy to find,
and she wrangles us.
Yeah, she is our cruise director. So so I mean, that would be my biggest thing that I would want to say, outside of, you know, we'll post where we're going to be as we get closer, but please come talk to us. Like, don't be shy. Don't be, you know, like, don't think that we're not going to want to talk to you. We do. We absolutely do. We are the biggest fangirl geeks, just like our readers are. You know, I don't know how many pre-orders already. Like, it's just, you know, you forget sometimes, like, that we're fangirls too. But it's hard. It's really hard to, like, talk to people when you sit in an office by yourself all day and talk to the people in your head. Like, your people are hard.
Peopling is hard.
Peopling is hard for authors. So that would be my overall advice for GRL, is just like, approach your favorite author. And if they seem like they're like a little shy, it's because they are.
Yeah.
They are. Where most of us are like, oh God, you like me? Wait, what? You actually, you know who I am? How do you know who I am? This is weird. I don't know. Why do you know my name? You know, like, because it's so, it's just such a surreal experience. So go talk to your favorite authors always. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, I can't think of any author who doesn't appreciate hearing from readers who enjoy their work, because, as you mentioned earlier, writing can be very solo as a process. And sometimes when you're putting your words out there into the world, it feels like you're kind of pitching it into this void, and you're like, am I going to get something back? Like, what do people think? And so, you know, it's always, for me at least anyway, when readers enjoy something that I've written and they tell me about it, it might as well be like a triple shot of espresso, right? Like, it energizes me, makes me want to write more, because I know people are out there and they're enjoying what I'm writing. And I think that's probably the case for most authors. Like, it gives us a major boost and reaffirms sort of what we do. And sometimes it can feel very tenuous out there in that kind of solo, isolated nature of the business.
Yeah,
it is. True. So I think that it's just always your best bet to be the one to approach, even if you're a little on the shy side. Trust me, your authors are, most of us, like, you know, I can't speak for everybody, but most authors are more shy than the readers. Like, and so I think that if more readers knew that, they wouldn't feel like they couldn't approach. Like, if I'm sitting in a group, please approach. Like, that's because, you know, if you see me like attached to her hip all the time, you can still come up and talk to us. Like, it's because I'm like a nervous Nelly and anxious, and I'm like, don't leave me, you know. Like, and I think that readers don't realize that sometimes about authors. Like, this is it's so hard for us to leave the house and like put on pants. Like, my goodness, wear real clothes. What? Like, so anyway, it's a little silly, but I think it's important for readers to hear. So.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And for readers who are thinking about, like, well, maybe I am also introverted, and should I even attend something like GRL? I would say it's well worth trying out at least once. If there's ever going to be a safe space for you to go and share your love of this genre with other people, it is GRL. I'm excited to be going for the first time as an author this year, but I've been attending as a reader for almost 10 years. And so, you know, I have been to a number of different types of conventions over the years, but GRL is the one that I keep coming back to because I think it is the one that feels the most like home, I guess, when you go. And at this point, of course, I have lots of friends and people that I know there that this is kind of our one time a year where we all meet up in the same place together and get to hang out. But you'll also often meet other like-minded folks that you can strike up friendships with or even start a writing community with and stuff like that. So definitely something to think about if you're on the fence about something like GRL.
And the great thing about GRL is if it's your first time, they have an event specifically for first timers. And like they kind of show you the ropes and let you meet people. And I don't remember how I haven't been in a few years, but they used to do kind of like a buddy system where you could even have people to introduce you. And so like they do a really good job of trying to make sure new people are like not like left on their own with no friends, you know, because it can be intimidating to go by yourself. And so we're excited. It's the first one we've been to in a few years now.
Yeah, we used to go every year until the pandemic, I think, and then we stopped and just like
we haven't time
to go.
Yeah, we haven't done any really events, I don't think.
Not any reader events. No, we've done like author education conferences, but we haven't done any reader events. And then we'll be doing rare.
Yeah,
we're going to rare in Scotland next year.
Yeah, next year we're going to for rare. So
nice.
For our European readers, we'll be there next September.
Yes. Oh, fun. Well, if you need any recommendations of things to do, let me know. I lived in Edinburgh for a while. I did my master's at the University of Edinburgh way back in the day.
We might just do that. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, I know our time here is almost up. If readers would like to learn more about both of you and your work, where can they find you online?
Yeah, so my website is macyblake.com. It's a great starting point. It kind of leads you everywhere else. I'm on my Facebook group is Macy's Moonlighters, and also on my Patreon. So you can look me up on Patreon. Those are kind of the best places to find me these days.
Wonderful.
I also got a website, charliecochet.com. I'm mostly in my Facebook group, Donuts, Dog Tags, and Daydreams. I need to make that shorter. And I also have a Patreon, which is just patreon.com /Charlie Cochet. I'm on there every day.
Yeah.
Great.
In the group and on Patreon. That's where you're most likely to find us. So.
Perfect. Well, I will include those links in the show notes for listeners. Thank you both so much for joining me here today. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk and learn more about Shifter Scoundrels, and I will look forward to seeing you both at GRL.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. To our viewers, we'll see you again next time in September.